Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 260, also known as UFC Perth. It is Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes. I am Ben Duffy, senior editor at Sherdog.com, and with me, as usual, though a day or two later than usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, this is the first time in several years that we have recorded a preview this late in the week. It's at least partly my fault, so my apologies. I'm the one that pushed it on Sunday night because I was having hardware issues, and then life happened to you yesterday. But how you doing other than that?
Well, Ben, we always want to be honest with the listeners, so let's be honest. What happened is we recorded the fantasy show, the 2025-2026 fantasy draft, and we were allowing Ben a couple extra days to change his mind on the Norma Dumont pick. And apologize to everybody. Like we said, things get away. We really apologize. But the good thing is this card is well worth the wait. I mean, this is a big one.
It's I do have to do a quick aside and say Happy New Year, Happy Rosh Hashanah to our Jewish listeners and those who live with them. I'm one of the ones that lives with one, so my house smells like baking bread right now. It is unbelievably tasty. Like, I may go get some slices of challah and be eating them while Keith is talking. But yeah, we're right in the middle of Rosh Hashanah. But yeah, this is a 14 fight card. Oh yeah, shalom. I'll give him this. It is geographically appropriate. There are 14 fights on this card, and 13 of them have an oceanic fighter, Australian, New Zealander, against a non-oceanic fighter. So they've at least got that part covered. They've got basically every Australian fighter that was available with like 2 or 3 little exceptions. The overall divisional relevance of the card, I mean, it's not great. The headliner, Ulberg versus Reyes, has some sneaky title implications. Like, it would take a few things falling into place, but the winner of that fight could end up fighting for a title in their next fight. They wouldn't be too far down Sean Shelby's speed dial, as you like to put it on our recaps.
Yeah, sorry, dude. I'm having a disaster in the background and nobody saw. My light shut off. I dropped things. I smashed the light over. I'm trying to reach around, trying to be professional. Trying to not show.
I can back up a second.
No. Just dude, this is the best. This is gonna be the best part of the show, right? That doesn't break them down. Freaking one of the Tafa brothers.
This is why we don't have a blooper reel. You get a little blooper reel with every episode.
Yeah. I will say this. I was looking at this card, and yeah, the whole Australia, whatever they call it, Oceania, or whatever. I'm so dumb. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, I like we need like 2 random like Canadians fighting each other all the way in Australia. Like that'd be kind of cool. But I was looking at this card. And it feel like when I was looking at Sherdog and going through it, I'm like, I feel like the main card hasn't been announced yet.
That's a real good way of putting this.
I mean, if we give this a letter grade, a D, I gotta give it a D. Like it's not a good card. The main event's good, but I'd rather have that like as a co-main event, and the rest of the card's pretty shitty.
Yeah, it's. Like I mentioned, they have most of the names in the UFC from that geographic region, but the few that they're missing are kind of the big ones. Where's Bobby? Where's Izzy?
Yeah, Dan Hooker. So they said, oh, who's our top talent, guys? Yeah, let's leave that on the card and let's just. Oh, you know what? Those people are Australian. They're gonna go no matter what, and that's what it is. This is the no matter what card. Like, they're buying tickets. We'll throw one main event on. Yeah.
The hilarious thing would be, okay, so here's the thing about Perth. Perth is in Western Australia, and I have not been to Australia, since like I was a baby with my parents leaving Vietnam. Okay. But my sis lives in Perth right now. And what I understand is that Perth, Western Australia, is the less cool side of the continent. It would be pretty hilarious if the UFC put on a card like 2 months from now in like Melbourne or something and had like Dan Hooker, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whittaker all on it. It's like they found out that like this is like, you know, the AAA card and like the major league card is in 2 months.
Robert Whittaker is fighting a kangaroo. Like just load it up. I like to explain the location of Perth. Do you think our listeners don't know that Perth is on the western side of Australia? Come on. We have the most intelligent listeners ever. I like that you talked about like a Jewish people, and the only thing I could say was shalom, and I'm like, is that Jewish or is that like yeah. I was either that, I was gonna say like, to celebrate, like let's circumcise somebody, but we're off the rails, bro. Let's bring.
I'm pretty comfortable that our listeners are either circumcised or not right now at this point in their lives, and are good with it and don't want to change that.
No.
But like,
don't want to freaking Abraham.
No one's doing like the Tom Arnold thing and getting circumcised at age 35.
Wait a minute, Tom Arnold got circumcised at age 35?
The one that was married to Roseanne Barr? Yeah, she was Jewish, and in order to get married, he got circumcised as an adult.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. But you know what? That's the second cruelest thing he's done to his penis. I mean, he used to bang Roseanne Barr, so. And this is my last episode with Sure Dog.
Off the rails so badly, and that's how badly we want to talk about this undercard, but I'm not sure we can put it off any further. You ready? First up at UFC Perth, a pair of debuting heavyweights look to make a big splash, as it is Brando Pericic versus Elisha Ellison. Pericic, the 31-year-old Australian, is 4-1 overall. He fought most recently a little under a year ago in a frankly kind of second-tier Oceanic promotion, getting a first-round knockout. He gets the call-up here, and he's going to be facing off against fellow debutant Ellison, a 28-year-old from Washington State, 5-1 overall. He also has been on the shelf for a while. He fought most recently back in January at a it's Excite Fight, a Pacific Northwest promotion. He also got a first-round knockout. So these two meet here, and based on the slim amount of tape between the two, the odds makers have laid out Pericic as the favorite. He is minus 180. Ellison is plus 150. I'm channeling my inner Keith Schillen here and saying that neither of these guys is very good. But this is heavyweight, so watch one of them get 15 fights in the UFC and like be the co-main of a fight night card at some point. Pericic, one thing I'll give him is he is huge. He's a huge guy. When you look at MMA heavyweights and the tail of the tape, they're all between 6'1" and 6'6". They're all between 230 and 265 pounds. It's easy to forget that there's a range of distinctions here. This guy, he's not quite Ben Rothwell, Martin Buday huge. Honestly, to make a comparison with someone who's fought in the UFC fairly recently, he's got that Ante D'Elia type build where he's a tall guy. He's like 6'5". He's got long wingspan. He's more of the lanky than like kind of like barrel chested build. All this just to say that when he and Ellison get in the cage, Ellison may even weigh in heavier. They're probably both going to weigh in like 250, 255 pounds, but Pericic is going to look way, way bigger. That's the good news. The bad news is all the tape I watched of him, he squanders his huge size advantage because in just about every fight, he'll throw one huge head kick and then just charge right into the clinch and like give up all of his reach advantage against shorter guys. My guess is that he does that in the way that a lot of heavyweights, well, a lot of people in any weight class, but a lot of heavyweights do when they're used to being at a speed disadvantage. They will just try to get their hands on the other person as quickly as possible to kind of short circuit the speed deficit. He does have nasty weapons inside. Like when he gets his hands on people, he does have tall man clinch offense. He'll throw level and even downward elbows. He's got nice knees. Got a decent trip takedown. Just I saw him dump at least one opponent just with a really quick little outside trip. Yeah, I mean, the tape is pretty thin on him. He's got 5 professional fights. Most of them were over inside of 3 minutes, but right now he looks like a very, very big, averagely athletic heavyweight mauler with, some decently well-rounded skills. Ellison, much more of a squat, compact type guy. In looking for a comparison, my thought first went to Muhammad Usman. I'm like, God, don't just compare him to the stocky black guy because he's a stocky black guy. He also reminds me of Thomas Peterson that's been fighting in the UFC for a year or two now, where, again, the tail of the tape might say they're like 6 feet tall and 250 pounds, but like the arms are shorter. They've just got much more of a compact build. Unfortunately, he doesn't make things better for himself because offensively, he's almost a pure boxer. He'll throw decent kicks, but it's almost like he needs his opponent to remind him that you can kick. Like all the time he kicks, it's usually his opponent kicks him and he goes, "Oh yeah, I can do that," and he kicks him back. Or I saw a few times that there was some sort of collision or scramble and his opponent was a little bit out of punching range and he'd throw a kick. He'd probably be more effective if he mixed in his kicks more purposefully, and I think he'd certainly be more effective if he mixed in offensive wrestling. I have no idea how much of an offensive wrestling background he really has, but with his build and the way he moves, I have the feeling he could take down the average MMA unranked heavyweight with a blast double after like a week of drilling it. I think this fight is, it's probably going to end up looking closer than the line makes it seem. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, but I am going to lean towards the favorite, Pericic, here. Just, he has a better diversity of offensive weapons, and I have the feeling a lot of this fight's probably going to take place in the clinch, and I like his weapons there better. So give me Pericic, and I'm going to say he gets it done by decision.
You wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Would you touch Roseanne Barr with a 10-foot pole?
I'd maybe snip a foot off the end.
There you go. I love that to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the UFC decided to book somebody with the name of Elisha to start off the card.
Oh yeah,
that's a deep cut for the
that's a deep cut, man.
Yeah, like I don't know, like the least interesting fight right out the gate is a good way to start it. I think you mentioned it, Pericic. He's a really big, massive heavyweight, very tall, great volume for heavyweight, and what I've seen, I like his speed. For heavyweight, nice 1-2s, big overhand right. Defensively, he lacks head movement. He will close the distance and dirty box inside. Like you mentioned, he gets inside a lot. Nice knees inside. He'll look for some clinch takedowns or some trip takedowns, you said. He's a submission threat. You look at his record. Ellison, I agree. Like he's a boxer, but he's a low output boxer. I like when he lets his hands go. He has some nice snap on his shots. He targets the body. He has nice power. He also likes to get to the clinch.
As you can see, Keith and I are both having trouble not comparing him to Muhammad Usman. He's got a brother. I'm sure he's got a brother that's half his size. That could beat his ass. He'll get in the clinch and land knees inside. I haven't seen much of his offensive wrestling, but his takedown defense that I've seen was pretty solid. I mean, this is one I wish I could have dug more into. Well, actually, that's not true. But it's a fight that I don't have a lot of knowledge on these two guys, so I'm not very confident in my pick. I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Pericic because he'll have the more output and he'll look to wrestle more. I just feel like he'll put himself in a chance to win. I haven't seen anything that makes me think he's going to get a stoppage, so give me Pericic by decision. Women's bantamweights take the cage next at UFC Perth as Michelle Montague makes her UFC debut against Luana Carolina. Montague, the 31-year-old New Zealander, is a perfect 6-0 as a professional. As I said, this will be her UFC debut. She fought most recently a little over a year ago in PFL, where she choked out Marilia Moraes in the first round. She's, like I say, been on the shelf for about 14 months, but she was signed to the UFC a little while ago, finally making her debut here, and waiting to greet her will be Carolina. 32-year-old Brazilian is 11-4 overall. She is 6-3 since joining the UFC out of the first season of Dana White's Contender Series Brazil. She is on a 3-fight win streak dating back over 2 years. that's good news and bad news. Good news that she's won a bunch of fights. Bad news that she's only fought 3 times in the last 27 months or so. And in fact, has not fought at all since last July when she picked up a unanimous decision over Lucia Pudilova. Odds here favor Montague pretty heavily. She's minus 210, Carolina plus 180. And it is worth noting that these two women are kind of meeting in the middle. Michelle Montague fought in PFL at 155 pounds, where Carolina has spent most of her UFC run at 125. Here they're going to meet at 135. So if you enjoy the suspense of weigh-ins on Friday before a UFC card, look out for Michelle Montague. And for what it's worth, these women are going to look like they came to this fight from not 2 but 3 weight classes apart. Carolina, she's tall and lanky for a flyweight, so she possibly has a frame that could put on good muscle and be just fine at bantamweight. But Michelle Montague is big. She is someone that I was mildly intrigued to see if they could run her into Kayla Harrison at some point. Just, I wouldn't have favored her over Harrison, but just as somebody that, one, is at least roughly similar to her in just overall size and bulk and just physical diesel, and is a ground specialist herself. I mean, Montague is 6-0. All 6 of her wins are rear naked chokes. Like, it's 1970s Big Ten football where you know they're going to run between the tackles 55 times a game. It's, can you stop it or not? And nobody has been able to stop it in the case of Montague, at least not yet. I think that stays the case here. Carolina's like been on a nice little run, and the fact that she dealt with Yulia Stoliarenko, who is kind of a smaller, less athletic version of the Michelle Montague mold, gives me some hope. But Carolina's takedown defense is still not great. She still could be kind of pushed around and physically bullied at 125 pounds. Assuming Montague makes the cut to 135 without a problem, I do think this is a tailor-made matchup for her to mop up. Give me Montague by first round submission. And I see no reason to break the trend. I'm going to say it's a rear naked choke. Yeah, just Carolina doesn't have the footwork to keep Montague away from her, and she doesn't have the power to, as Laura Sanko puts it, advertise the price of admission. Meaning, even if Montague doesn't get her first takedown attempt, she's not going to eat some knee on the way in that knocks her out or shuts off her takedowns for the rest of the fight. So whether Montague gets Carolina down in 30 seconds or 3 minutes, I think this thing's over in the first round. Rear naked choke.
Yeah, I mean, they can meet at 125, 135. They can meet on a volcano. Either way, I'm not that interested in this fight. No, I'm only joking. Actually, I think this one is one of the better fights on the card, which is saying something about this card. I mean, we know Carolina at this point. I definitely think she's made improvements since she's come in the UFC. But we know she's a long and lengthy striker. Obviously she 135. She was not going to be as long, or lanky up there. But it's not like she's not going to be small for the weight class by any means. Muay Thai striker. She likes to work from distance. I mean, her best showing was probably against Lucy Pudilova. She looked really fast in that fight. Good jab. Throw some nice straight shots down the pike. She can load up sometimes and telegraph her big power shots. Something that she needs to clean up. It also opens up takedowns when she loads up for her opponent. She'll throw a lot of kicks. She loves teep kicks, which I think is a great tool for her. Some hard calf kicks. She can use her big frame well in the clinch, get on the offense there. She's good in the clinch when she's the one initiating the offense, or she's looking to clinch first. Good knees inside. No offensive wrestling in her takedown defenses. I mean, it's terrible. Well, actually, she did get some takedowns against Julia Stoliarenko, which maybe not the best idea against someone like Stoliarenko who wants to get the fight down. But her takedown defense, it was better against Pudilova and Ivana Petrovic, but they're at the bottom of the barrel. Montague is a better grappler than both of them. Montague, I mean, she's kind of the pole opposite. She's a very one-dimensional fighter. On the feet, very uncomfortable on the feet. She will throw hard, but it's her defense. She dips away and pulls her head to avoid punches. Very similar to like what Julian Robinson first did, or sometimes still does when we have bad Julian Robinson. But make no mistake about it, she wants to get the fight to ground. I like her wrestling. She's got some good wrestling, nice entries, slick back takes, good ground and pound. She sets up her submissions by punching. Like she'll take the back, get like the rear mount, and then she'll stop punching away, and then she slips in the submission. Every win by way of submission. I mean, to me, this is a pretty easy fight to break down if it stays on the feet. And I know this is lazy, but if it stays on the feet, Carolina should probably massacre her. If Montague can get the fight to the ground, she should win easily. I am torn because I started liking some things Carolina has done. Someone's going to dominate, and I can see it going either way, but I'm going to go the same route as you. I say that person's going to be Montague. She's going to be stronger. Again, I am worried about a weight cut, but I don't think it matters. At the deep the fight goes, it won't matter. I don't think it's going to go that deep. I think she's going to get the fight down. I think she's, like you said, she's a specialist. I say she catches Carolina sub, and I had the same way. First round, I was picking a rear naked choke too. So Montague, first round, rear naked choke submission.
Lightweights are up next at UFC Fight Night 260 as Jamie Mullarkey squares off against Rolando Bedoya. Mullarkey, the 31-year-old Australian, is 17-8 overall. He's 5-6 in the UFC, and he's on a 2-fight losing streak. That's bad news. Other bad news is he's been on the shelf for a long time as well. I feel as though I've said that about just about everybody on this card so far, but his last appearance was back at UFC 301 last May, where he got knocked out late in the first round by Mauricio Hufi. So he's looking to get back in the win column here, looking for his first win in just a little over 2 years, and he will need to get past Bedoya in order to do it. Bedoya, 28-year-old Peruvian, is 14-4 overall. He's 0-3 in the UFC. That's bad news. Further bad news is that he also has been on the shelf for over a year. He fought most recently last August at UFC on ABC, Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Jai Herbert. Worth noting that was his lightweight debut. So he's 0-3 in the UFC, but the first 2 fights were at welterweight. He dropped to 155 pounds. That did not turn his fortunes around. He is back here for what is probably his last chance, but we'll see. And Keith, Jamie Mullarkey is taking on a guy who's 0-3 in the UFC, and he's still not the favorite. This one's pick him. Both guys minus 110. So
that's
the
Mullarkey.
odds makers, yeah. Tell me your take on this fight, who you think gets it done, and what you think the fight looks like.
I think I said this last time Jamie Mullarkey fought, but every single time you mention Mullarkey, I think of Band of Brothers because one of the characters' names was Mullarkey. You watched Band of Brothers, right? We talked about this before.
No, and you got after me because it's one of your favorites. I know.
I can't believe I'm doing a show with a communist. This is perfection. It is. Dude, now I remember this. What the hell, Ben? What do you do all day? All right. This fight. I mean, Jamie Mullarkey, he's not a great athlete. He's not the best technician. When he was on like a little bit of a winning streak, or he was kind of pulling up some upsets when he first got in the UFC, he was beating guys because of volume. He tries to pressure opponents onto their back foot. We saw that best against Devontae Smith, the guy who, like, technically wise, athletic wise, light years ahead of him, but he forced him on his back foot. He throws a lot of jabs, constantly cutting angles and L-stepping and making it busy, cutting angles to set up his offense. He has some power. We saw that against Smith. We saw it against Kamaworthy, and same category that Smith is compared to Mullarkey. He works the body. He will wrestle to win rounds. His wrestling isn't that good, but to his defense, he chains them together well. He also has this like unbreakable will that he just keeps working to get it there. He does need to improve his top control, but it looked much better against Francisco Prado from the top position. If you take him down, he'll work right to back up and break down his opponent's will. Like you take him down, he pops right back up. And he has the cardio to go the entire fight. The problem is his volume has dropped a little bit. So some of the best things he did isn't there. But the worst thing is his durability. It's gone. This guy has taken so many beatings, and now his body's starting to fail for it. And he had the style that he had to take beatings. He had, a little bit of a like Darren Elkins style to him. Not obviously the frames are different. Elkins, it's like wrestling first, and then the damage. Well, Mullarkey was the other way, but you get my overall assessment.
Yeah.
Bedoya, he's a guy, he switches stances a lot. He's a high output striker, very aggressive. He likes to brawl. He throws hard. He has some power. Big kicking game, a lot of kicks, good teep kicks, good body kicks. I love that he throws kicks in his combinations. His defense really struggles. He drops his hand. He keeps his chin high. He backs straight up on the center line, so it makes him very hittable. So we could have a really fun fight. He throws a lot of kicks, but a lot of times he'll throw him naked and so he's open to counter. Now he can wrestle, but he needs to improve his top game. That's not really a thing. He does have 3 subs, but he'll lose position trying to chase a sub. I'm also worried about his durability. I mean, he was dropped twice by Kanan Song, not the best fighter. So a few years back, I would have picked Mullarkey. However, like I said, what he has done in the past, I think is gone. I simply can't, and I don't think he can take shots anymore. Now I'm also worried about the durability of Bedoya. So like not a lot of confidence, but I'm going to say that it's Mullarkey the one eating the shots from Bedoya. I say Bedoya puts him out. I'm going to say Bedoya gets the best win of his career. Bedoya wins by second round TKO.
Yeah, I definitely am picking up what you're putting down about Mullarkey. For a couple of years there, he seemed to be a guy that was moving into being one of our guys. The overachiever that wins fights he shouldn't just because of toughness, persistence, and comparing it to someone like Darren Elkins, to someone like Damon Jackson, to someone like Nate Landwehr. The difference is all 3 of those guys have better wrestling than Mullarkey does. Like Mullarkey has to thread just a much smaller needle because he needs to basically strike with these people until they get tired and worn down. He can't even just like turn to the wrestling late in the fight and seal things off. And because of that, for all the reasons you said, things are already starting to fall off. Man, is there anything worse than trying to prognosticate a fight between 2 unranked fighters that haven't fought in over a year? Like, between the 2 of these guys, Mullarkey seems to be gradually in decline. He's a couple years older than Bedoya. I don't have much faith in this either, but I'm leaning with you. I think Bedoya gets it done, and it'll be easily the best win of his career because it'll be his first win in the UFC. It'll be a pretty quiet arena in Perth, but there'll be one super happy Peruvian, and they'll probably pan to like 3 dudes with the flag, like over in the cheap seats somewhere, going bananas. But yeah, give me Bedoya as well. And given the way Mullarkey has been reacting to getting hit, and the way Bedoya will just brawl and throw hands, I'm guessing he gets it done inside the distance too. Give me Bedoya by second round TKO. Next up at UFC Perth is a men's bantamweight bout between Colby Thicknesse and Josias Musasa. Thicknesse, the ironically named 26-year-old Australian, is 7-1 overall. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut back in February at...
I got to interrupt you real quick. Of course, you start thinking about the guy's thickness the second my wife just sat down right next to me. She's like, probably thinking, what you're breaking down MMA? What are you guys doing? Like, she probably thinks like that I got like I'm having an affair or something that's going on. Like we're talking about the thickness. All right, go ahead.
Like his name is Thicknesse. He's about as thick as Corey Sandhagen. He made his UFC debut back in February at UFC 312. Dropping a unanimous decision to Alexander Topuria. So he's looking to bounce back from that. His opponent is looking to bounce back from an unsuccessful UFC debut as well. Musasa, the 26-year-old Congolese, is 8-1 overall. He is 0-1 since joining the UFC out of season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his debut in March at UFC Fight Night Vettori versus Dolidze, where he got choked out by Carlos Vera in the first round. So 2 gentlemen coming in off their first career losses, one of them presumably is going to get back into the green here. The odds makers think it will be the visiting fighter, as Musasa is minus 160, Thicknesse plus 130. Keith, both guys fairly young, fairly new in their career, coming off their first career loss. Is it too early to say that neither of these guys is a future contender at bantamweight, or do you still have any hope for either one?
I mean, there's always hope in the world for Thicknesse. I mean, you're a big fan of Thicknesse. I personally am not. I'm a fan of one woman. That's it. Not like you, who's always constantly talking about Thicknesse. Thicknesse versus Musasa.
And dude, every time we say Musasa's name, I think of the Lion King.
Yeah,
and the three hyenas with like Whoopi Goldberg saying Musasa. Say it again.
Like, oh yeah, when they're saying the name over and over again.
Ooh, Musasa.
Dude, this is why like the UFC sucks. I'll tell you why. All right, I don't know if this would come out for racist, but like he needs to come down like full Lion King theme. Like I want to hear the yeah, and I want like a freaking like
he needs like
people dressed.
He needs Walter Walker like holding him up like this.
Yeah,
like holding him up off the cliff. Yeah,
giraffes and zebras and shit coming out with them, and yeah, that'd be badass. Again, I don't just talking about Disney. Don't go too far with that. This freaking fight. Thicknesse. I mean, he's a minus athlete. He's not much of a striker. He does move a lot, but his boxing is ugly. No combinations, mostly just single strikes. He lacks power because he really doesn't set his legs underneath him. He does have a big kicking game. He throws some hard body kicks. He can get the fight to the ground, but I think his technique on his wrestling isn't that good. His outside entries are bad. He does look for some body lock takedowns. If he gets the fight to the ground, he will look to move to a better position. I do like his ground and pound. He's an overall solid grappler, especially compared to Musasa, and he has a submission threat. Josias, that sounds a little Jewish too. Josias, I think that might fit too. I don't know if he's Jewish.
It's probably like a biblical name. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Musasa, he's a southpaw, very aggressive striker. He marches down his opponent. He got some quick hands, very explosive. I like his straight right. He throws right down the pike. He can sometimes overthrow his shots, so he's open to be countered. He does work the body well. He's got 7 TKOs. He doesn't look to wrestle offensively, and he's got really bad defensive wrestling. His get-up game has been inconsistent, and he has no submission offense. He's got really bad submission defense. His cardio, even though he's like ripped up dude, I like his cardio from the fights I see in the regional scene. Obviously, his UFC debut was horrendous. Thicknesse is definitely the more well-rounded fighter. Insert joke, Thicknesse in the well-rounded. But I'm going to say he doesn't get the chance to show it. I'm going to say Musasa, he comes back. He takes on Scar. He lands his big punch. Musasa by first round TKO. Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
This always bothered me when I was a little kid and I watched The Lion King. Do you remember, what was the freaking girlfriend's name? The girlfriend lion?
Nala,
yes. Do you remember like Nala came and like found Simba, but he didn't, they didn't know it. They were started fighting each other, and then Nala like pins him down, and he's like, Nala. So Nala like multiple times could whoop his ass.
Mm-hmm.
But then like she's like, hey, come and fight Scar. You can beat him. Like, Nala, you can beat him. Like you
go fight Scar.
Like you can beat Simba. What the hell you need Simba for? Anyways, that's just my 2 take. It is ruined.
Ruined. Keith Chillen speaking up for smashing the patriarchy. Women just fighting for their own justice. Like you don't need no man, Nala.
Yeah, I'm not sexist after we talked about all the thickness. Nala.
Hey, in his defense, we're talking about a guy's thickness.
Yeah, but Musasa knocks him out.
Oh, this fight. I actually think I overestimated Colby Thicknesse when he made his debut. Because here's the thing, and Keith Keith probably knows this about me having done shows together for all these years. And if you're a regular viewer, you know this as well. The way my brain works is to compare things to other things. You know, like this fighter reminds me of this other fighter. This band reminds me of this band. This movie reminds me of this movie. And I remember watching as many of Colby Thicknesse's fights as I could find ahead of his UFC debut, making all my notes, and then looking at my notes and saying, this is all the exact same shit I said about Steve Erceg ahead of his debut, and he turned out to be 10 times better than I thought. It's like, he's kind of lanky. He presents as a boxer. He's not a great athlete. Doesn't seem to have that much power. He can take care of himself pretty well on the ground. He's going to get whooped. And then, you know, he fights his way to a title fight in like 18 months. I think this is what I thought.
And I'm sure the Australia, New Zealand thing had nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's exactly what it had to do with it. But yeah, Musasa has the far higher upside here because there are some things that he can do at an elite level, and he has clear things to work on. Now, whether he will fix them or not, whether he can fix them or not, that remains to be seen. But with Thicknesse, you can already see his ceiling. Having said that, I can see him pulling off the upset here. Like, if Musasa doesn't jump right on him and clock him with something big early, I can see Thicknesse kind of crowding him, even though he's the taller guy, and using, I mean, it's the ugliest offensive wrestling in that division against the ugliest defensive wrestling in that division. Something's got to give. But I think Thicknesse is probably going to get his chances to get Musasa on the ground. Like, even if he doesn't get a shot from outside, if they just end up in the clinch, I think it's going to end up with Musasa on the ground and Thicknesse at least in his guard, if not sitting on his chest.
Thicknesse has gotten a lot of people on the ground.
Yeah. And surprisingly heavy top game. Who knew it from a guy named, give me Thicknesse to get it done here. I'm going to say he takes his lumps, but gets Musasa a couple times throughout the fight, kind of wears on him. Give me Colby Thicknesse by TKO on the ground, third round in a slight to moderate upset.
Ben, remember that woman? I don't remember her name, but she used to listen to the show every single week, and any like joke I ever made about a woman, she would flip out. She would have hated this. What was that lady's name? Do you remember?
It was a one word.
Oh, she would, and every single week she'd be like, "Oh, Keith's a pervert. Keith's this. Keith every like." Oh my lord. Well, if you're listening, welcome back.
Yeah,
I haven't changed.
and if you're waiting for one of us to apologize, or for God forbid for me to get after him about it.
Oh no, she loved Ben.
This ain't your show.
She loved Ben. She was ready to give Ben the Thicknesse.
I don't know why. Middleweights take the cage next at UFC Perth as Cameron Rowston squares off against Andre Petroski. Rowston, the 30-year-old Australian, is 12-3 overall. This will be his UFC debut after appearing twice on Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on season 8 last year, came back this year, in fact, just like 2 months ago, and picked up a win. That was good enough to get him signed, and here he gets the debut assignment against Petroski. 34-year-old Pennsylvanian is 13-4 overall. He is 8-3 since joining the UFC as a semifinalist of season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC on ESPN Usman versus Buckley back in June, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Edmund Shabazian. That snapped a 3-fight win streak for him that saw him turn into arguably the most successful alum of that season of the show, especially considering that Brian Battle has now been cut. But he's looking to build back that momentum, show that he is still a potential contender, and he is moderately favored to do so. Petroski is -160, Rowston +130. Keith, I feel as though we have a very known quantity here against a pretty unknown one. I'm going to flip this to you. Who's the real Andre Petroski, and how good is Cameron Rowston? Who gets it done?
Yeah, I haven't done this in a really long time. besides taking on my first pick for the third year in a row, but Bo Nickel getting matched up against Rodolfo Vieira. Petroski wasn't calling for that fight, and Bo is such a bad stylistic matchup for him. And it's like, you need Bo to get a win. Like, why didn't you just give him that fight? Why would you give him Rodolfo Vieira? Anyways, like the one guy he probably shouldn't wrestle. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, I mean, Petroski.
So Nickel, round 1 KO head kick, but please continue.
Well, me and a guy I work with talking about it, I'm like, another big thing about Bo's game is like kicks, like high kicks. Like, do you want to take a chance to throw a high kick and get like and slip? Like, I don't know. Anyways, Petroski, I mean, he's a southpaw, and we've seen him switch stances a lot. He's on the feet. He's a boxer. Fights at a very slow pace. Throws some like tight hooks. He lacks power, despite looking like a white Mike Tyson. I mean, he looks like he connect and knock into next week, but that's just not the case. He gets hit a lot. That's because he's slow. I mean, he looked bad against Edmund Shabazian. He couldn't handle the range of Shabazian. I got to worry about his chin too. I mean, he was knocked out by Michel Bajeda. He was knocked out by Jacob Malkoun. He was hurt by Shabazian over and over again. Now, he is a solid wrestler, but I think it's declining. He didn't set up his entries against Shabazian at all. Again, some of that had to do with just he couldn't get past the first defense of the hands. He's struggling at the range and. But when he is shooting, he usually has a pretty good double leg takedown. Good at really driving through the hips to get to the second level. He also has a good single leg where he runs the pipe on it. He will be relentless to get the takedown. He does a lot of big moves, so that can sap his energy. But if he gets the fight to the ground, he is a good topside grappler. He has no issues with like catching his breath by stalling on top. He will advance position well on the ground. He loves like head attacks, head and arm choke, stuff like that. If you put him on his back, he struggles to get back up. But he did show a good get up game against the aforementioned Rodolfo Vieira. Rowston is a long and lengthy striker, so that's another issue that Petroski has to deal with, just like he just did with Shabazian. I'd say he's a pretty technical striker. He's got a nice straight right. He follows with some good body kicks. He does stand a little too tall for my liking. A big part of his game is his wrestling. He wrestles a lot, but his entries are slow. He will use those long arms to kind of help him get snatch singles. If he gets to the hips, he's not bad at cutting the corner. Defensively, he's hard to take down. He's just like that tall man's defense. I like that he mixes striking and takedowns together well. He does, if he gets a fight down, he does need to improve his top control, but he's got busy ground pounding. He's got 7 subs on his record. So to me, this just comes down to see where Petroski stands. Does he have anything left? In his prime, Petroski a couple of years ago, he'd be a horrendous stylistic matchup. I think he'd beat this guy easily. Flying all the way to Perth, this could be the end of him. This could be like, oh man, when Petroski was good and now he's washed and he might be on the cut list. I'm going to say he's got one more left in him. You said he was the favorite, right?
Yeah, he's minus 160.
It's pretty close. Like that's actually good. That's kind of where I'd probably put it. Like I don't think he should be a huge favorite, but I say he still has one more left. I say he gets a takedown. He controls from on top for the majority of the fight. Give me Petroski by decision.
There's basically nothing I can add to your breakdown of these guys' skills. The one thing I'll throw in is that we knew Petroski's limitations, and we knew that kind of based on his style and his physicality, his prime was going to have a definite shelf life. But what was most disturbing about the Shabazian loss was that Shabazian looked like the fresher fighter late. It's one thing to lose to Edmund Shabazian. It's another thing to get outlasted by him. And as you pointed out, he struggled to get Shabazian down, and Shabazian traditionally, his defensive wrestling is nowhere near as good as his offensive. That really did look like the beginning of maybe a long and permanent slide for Petroski. This could be a fight where Rowston looks like $1 million just coming out and jumping all over Petroski, and we realize only later that it was more down to Petroski than to him. I'm tempted to take the upset here. I really am. And if he gets the upset, I think it's probably a more fun fight to watch. But yeah, give me Petroski to win this, just to have enough left in the tank, maybe literally, because you pointed out that he's not above using his kind of heavy top control to take a breather. I think he might have to do that. He might have a second foe in the crowd just booing the shit out of him as he's on top of Rowston. Yeah, and Rowston Rowston doing his best Bisping, just like gesturing to the crowd, pointing to the ref, like. But I'm gonna say they have an American ref down there. He calls it straight, and Petroski gets enough done to pick up 2 rounds out of 3. Petroski by decision with no confidence on it. Welterweights are up next as Jonathan Micallef faces off against Oban Elliott. Micallef, the 26-year-old Australian, is 8-1 overall. He's 1-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his UFC debut back in February at UFC 312 against his countryman and now PFL talent, Kevin Josias, and won a unanimous decision. So he will look to make it 2 in a row here against Elliott. 27-year-old Welshman, 12-3 overall, 3-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of the Contender Series. He made his UFC debut to relatively little fanfare and then proceeded to win his first 3 fights in a row. That got him to June, UFC on ABC, Hill versus Roundtree, where he faced Xiaoqiang Ko and lost a unanimous decision. So he'll be looking to get back in the win column here as well, or looking to get back in the win column here. He is ever so slightly favored to get it done. Elliott is -120, Micallef +100. These guys, I am cautiously ready to pronounce them both better than I thought they were going to be. And there is a gap a mile wide at welterweight between better than I thought you were going to be and a future top 10 guy. But considering that they're also 26 and 27 years old, respectively, hope springs eternal. Elliott is better than I thought he was going to be in the way that if I misjudge a fighter from the UK, it's almost always this way. Like, they are almost always better wrestlers than I think they're going to be, and more willing to mix and just smoother at mixing their striking and grappling than I gave them credit for. And part of it is that a lot of them come from Cage Warriors, where there's just a certain style that a lot of those fights turn out. And the same is true of the continental Europe promotions as well. Same is true of like British fighters who come up through like KSW or Octagon or whatever. And then part of it is probably just me being stuck in the stereotype of like a 2005 British fighter, where, you know, they're all Brad One Punch Pickett, who had terrible power and was a good wrestler.
Yeah, he threw one punch.
yeah, he threw one punch and then shot for a double leg. I like Elliott. He's a good boxer, good wrestler. Like, he's not an explosive wrestler, but he's a persistent wrestler who has learned how to chain takedowns. So he gets takedowns on second, third effort, where a lot of other fighters wouldn't. I think that's probably going to be the difference here. I think this fight will be pretty well matched on the feet. I think of the two of them, Elliott will be the one who is more likely to try to take this to the ground, either as a reaction to getting stuff he doesn't like on the feet or as a proactive part of his game plan. And from there, the question becomes Elliott's offensive wrestling and his top game against Micallef, who is a good grappler, just good positionally. He's slick on the ground. He got decent sweeps. He's good at threatening things from just about any position that, even if they don't finish the fight, kind of make things happen and get him into positions where he can either get back to his feet or sweep. I'm glad this fight is close to a pick'em because it feels like that to me. I do think both these fighters are demonstrably UFC material. They're probably going to be here for a while. Give me Elliott to win this by decision, but this one's going to feel like a close fight, and I think it's going to be a really fun one too.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's actually one of the better fights on the card. I agree with what you said. Like the difference between they're better than what I thought they were and being good is still huge. It's like the space between like lame ass Perth and like cool ass Sydney.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
Oban Elliott. I mean, he fights out of both stances. I say he's a good striker, but he hated the pressure from Ko. When he's the one moving forward, he's throwing combinations. He's got big kicking game, kicks to the body. He will throw some naked leg kicks. I don't like that. But when he's getting pressure back, he backs straight up on the center line. He pulls his head straight back. Things I don't like. He's a good offensive wrestler. He's got some fast entries, but sometimes he'll shoot without a setup. To his credit, if he gets to the hips, he does really well at cutting the corner. He also likes body lock takedowns. His takedown defense has it was bad when he first came to UFC, then it started improving. But it did not look good in his last fight. Ku kept throwing him in his last fight. So I get like a question mark next to his takedown defense. He is pretty fun in scrambles, though. He's pretty good at winning scrambles. If he gets on top, I like his ground and pound. If he's put on his back, he will struggle to get back up. But some of that has to do with his mindset. He's looking for subs off his back. He also has gassed out in the past. But like, I'll go all the way back to like when he was on the Contender Series, he was beat up really bad and came back and dug deep in the third round and got the win. So I do think he has a lot of heart. Micallef, he is a minus athlete, bit of a stationary target. But to his defense, like he had a really good game plan against Josias. He's a southpaw. He's got a nice straight left, kind of stayed in his face. He does load up on shots, and he's kind of willing to eat one to kind of land some of his own. Big kicking game, lots of kicks, hard body kicks. He switched. They kept talking about on the broadcast. He switches the tempo of his kicks, which is really fun. He crushed Josias with a high kick. He kind of does things backwards where he sets up his punches behind his kicks. Now he will throw, because he throws so many leg kicks. He'll kind of set him up and just kind of walk forward after a kick, so he is there to be tagged. He also doesn't check leg kicks. He will close the distance. He's a big guy for the weight class. He'll body lock. Not a good offensive wrestler, and he's a weak defensive wrestler. But you mentioned he's a good grappler. He gets the fight to the ground. He advances position. He's got 3 subs on his record. I saw him catch a sub off of his back, and he chains submissions together well. He might only have 3 subs, but like near subs, he has a shitload. So I'm going to pick Elliott because I still think on the feet, his boxing, he's much faster. But I don't have a lot of confidence in my pick. I mean, if before Micallef had his UFC debut, if he was fighting Elliott instead of Josias at that time, I would have liked Elliott a lot. But Micallef impressed me a little bit. He could give Elliott a lot of problems with just pressure him and getting takedowns. But I'm still going to lean towards Elliott. I'm going to say he's winning the striking battle. I'll see it's really close. I'm going to see Elliott by split decision.
Next up at UFC Perth is a strawweight matchup between Loma Lookboonmee and Alexia Thainara. Loma, whose given name is Konklak Suphisara, and we will be calling her Loma Lookboonmee from now on, is 29 years old, 10-3 overall, 7-2 in the UFC, and on a 4-fight win streak. This tiny, awesome woman has not lost a fight in almost 4 years. That's the good news. The bad news is that she has fought literally once a year since then. This will be the first time since 2021 that she has fought twice in a calendar year. She appeared most recently back in April at UFC on ESPN Emmett versus Murphy, where she picked up a unanimous decision over Estela Nunes. So she'll look to make it 5 in a row and honestly move into the fringes of the title discussion. But in order to do so, she will need to get past Thainara. 27-year-old Brazilian is 12-1 overall. She is 1-0 since joining the UFC out of season 8 of the Contender Series. She made her debut back in March at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady, spoiling things for not hometown, but home country favorite Molly McCann with a first-round submission. She will look to build on that momentum, and she is comfortably favored to do so. Thainara minus 240, Loma plus 200 as your underdog. I like Loma. You like Loma. If you don't like Loma, something's wrong with you. Like, she's she's absolutely a delight, but being as small as she is at a special kind of handicap every time she gets in the cage. And while, I mean, a 4-fight win streak is a 4-fight win streak, she is dependent on matchups. The big revelation about Loma once she kind of got her feet wet in the UFC is that, yes, she's a decorated former Muay Thai champion in her early 20s, but she's still not even 30. She's been in MMA for almost a decade at this point. She's an MMA fighter. And as an MMA fighter, she is a good Muay Thai striker who has actually, when she lost to Angela Hill, that should have been a dreadful matchup for Hill, because Loma was at least more credentialed and more decorated at all the things that Hill supposedly does best. And it was actually Hill who was winning the clinch exchanges. That's not a good look. Like, Loma is dependent on matchups, but the revelation about her has been that, man, she's surprisingly good ground fighter. It's a little of the Michelle Waterson Gomez thing, where despite being really small, she's a surprisingly good offensive wrestler. And while she has trouble keeping people down, once she gets them down, she doesn't mind rinsing and repeating, and she can actually threaten with some ground and pound and submissions when she has people down. The reason I keep coming back to she is dependent on matchups is that this is a miserable matchup for her. Thainara is bigger, she's younger, and more importantly, for someone who's not huge for the division, she's a physical bully, a good judoka, and kind of a mauler on the ground. I understand why the line is what it is, because again, Loma would have to kind of thread a needle here to win. And she would have to do things that are against her normal nature. She'd have to fight, basically she'd have to fight an outfight as a Muay Thai fighter against someone who is going to be taller and have reach on her and is going to want badly to get her hands on Loma and chuck her on the ground. That's rough, because again, Loma's at her best when she can have that kind of fight, but then switch to an in-fight and maybe some surprise takedowns when it suits her. She won't have that option here, because if she tries to take Thainara down, at best, Thainara goes, okay, don't threaten me with a good time, and they go to the ground. Or at worst, Thainara shucks her off and like knees her in the face for her troubles. Yeah. I racked my brain for plausible ways Loma wins this, but unless she's grown some one-shot power that she's not shown so far, or unless Thainara gasses out miserably or just doesn't fight like what she appears to be through the Contender Series and her UFC debut, this is a bad style matchup. I think Thainara probably finishes Loma on the ground. Loma's durable on the ground, but this could be the kind of fight where Loma gets tapped out in the third round after spending like 9 minutes on the ground on bottom getting pelted. I think that's what happens. Give me Thainara by, I'm going to say, third round submission after a pretty one-sided fight.
This is a really intriguing match. It's probably one of the fights I'm most intrigued by. I like Loma. You gave her that like Frank Shamrock record, like undefeated for 4 years, you know, where Frank used to say that. I still remember when Frank lost to Renzo Gracie, and he's like, well, it's my first loss in a decade. It's like, yeah, we haven't fought a decade. I mean, I love Loma. She might be my favorite fighter in the UFC. We described before, more horizontal than vertical. If she was American, her last name would be the Thicknesse. Also, she'd be related to the other guy. She's a very good striker, as you mentioned. For a short fighter, she understands distance well. Muay Thai striker. I think she works well from distance. Quick hands, very explosive. Hits hard for someone who's small in division. Great kicking game. Maybe the hardest leg kicker in all of women's MMA. I like her teep kicks out the middle. She uses her lack of height well inside the clinch. She likes to clinch a lot too. The problem is she thinks clinching means she's fighting MMA instead of just sticking to her bread and butter sometimes and striking from the outside. Sometimes she'll close the distance when she shouldn't. But she's good at framing, beating up her foe inside, strong knees inside, good elbows inside. She looks she looks better and better in wrestling like every match. I mean, she out-wrestled Sam Hughes. She out-wrestled Denise Gomez. Lupe Godinez did like put on a wrestling clinic against her. But I mean, Lupe can be an elite wrestler at times. So she loves headlocks and hip throws from the clinch, which would be a really bad idea against Thainara, especially because like a judo background. That's their thing, headlocks and hip throws. She does need to improve her get up game, but she got a submission against Elise Reed, so that's good. Thainara, I mean, she's really, you mentioned, really big for the weight class. That's gonna be the thing that stands out more than anything. On the feet, very unorthodox style to her striking, very herky-jerky. But it isn't that bad for someone who we think of as someone who wants to get the fight on the ground. She's got good output on the feet. She throws a lot of big looping punches. She can overthrow her shots, so she's open to be countered, and that'd be a mistake against Loma. Loma can put her out. She does have some power, though. She connects. I like that she sets up her strikes with feints. She throws a lot of calf kicks. She will close the distance and use her size well in the clinch. She will look for takedowns. She obviously likes those judo bite-a-lock takedowns. But she also has a good reactionary double if you over pursue on the outside. She will also catch a kick and kind of just charge forward against her opponent, which would be an issue against Loma. Would be an issue for Loma, I should say. She does, probably because of the judo background, she needs to improve her top control. That's not a part of really judo's game. She is a submission artist and she has good cardio. So I think this is a closer fight than, I mean, I don't know if I think it's a closer fight. Like I totally could see Thainara just absolutely smoking Loma, but I think I give Loma a better shot because of what she can do. And I agree that she has to thread the needle. I didn't say it as sexist as you are, because obviously on this show I'm Team Nala, not Team Simba like you are. But dude, I'm not going against Loma. We've been waiting a year. I'm taking Loma. I want to say she's such a good striker. I'm going to say her striking got even better. I'm going to say she's going to move. She actually sticks to a game plan. She sticks moves, keeps circling, kind of getting Thainara to chase her. When Thainara gets in the range, Loma's the one who initiates the clinch. She lands some shots, breaks free, and just keeps doing it. Give me Loma by decision.
I hope you're right.
I do too.
Up next at UFC Perth, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a light heavyweight matchup between Navajo Stirling and Rodolfo Bellato. Stirling, the 27-year-old New Zealander, is 7-0 overall. He's 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought most recently back in May at UFC 315, where he won a unanimous decision over Ivan Erslan, who, for some inexplicable reason, appears 4 fights higher up the card than the guy he just lost to. At any rate, Stirling looking to stay undefeated, looking for his 3rd straight win in the UFC. In order to make those things happen, he will need to get past Bellato. 29-year-old Brazilian is 12-2-1 with 1 no contest overall. He is 1-0-1 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC as a 2-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on Season 6 to Vitor Petrino, then came back on Season 7 and won, and as I said, been in the UFC ever since, though he hasn't won in almost 2 years. His most recent fight was that no contest. It was back in June. It was the illegal upkick fight against Paul Craig. It was weird. It was a Paul Craig fight. At any rate, he's looking to get back into the win column here. Incidentally, his fight before that was a draw with Jimmy Crute, who also appears much further up the card. Odds here favor the undefeated Kiwi. Unsurprisingly, he's minus 240. Bellato is plus 200. Man, I'm almost more excited to recap this fight than preview it, if that makes any sense at all. Because here's my preview. For an underdog this big, there is a simple, straightforward, and plausible route to victory for Bellato. He hits super hard.
Yeah, knock him out.
Yeah, come forward, knock him out. It's not like we'd have to see something completely unforeseeable in order for this to happen. Like, the real question for me is, how good is Navajo Stirling? Is he the next Israel Adesanya, to name one of his teammates? Is he the next Carlos Ulberg, to name another of his teammates? Or is he Brando Brad Riddell type, a guy that's going to look like a world beater striker until he runs into some other good strikers, and then he turns out to be good, but just another guy. And that's more a discussion for the recap. But yeah, I mean, Stirling, he's 7 fights into his career. Physically, he's got the tools. Like he's from the Ulberg mold. He's a tall guy with long reach. And like Ulberg, he's at least schooled to use that well. Like he has an awareness of distance. And at least thus far, it's been good enough to get him past everybody. I think Bellato's at least going to make this messy. And I'm interested to see that. Like I'm not the UFC. And I'm not a boxing manager, so I have no interest in building someone like Navajo Stirling up to 17-0 before he fights a decent guy. I like this matchup for that reason. Like, I think we're going to know what Stirling looks like against a guy that isn't going to settle for getting pelted in an outside kickboxing match. And a guy who, while he may not be much of a technical wrestler, if Stirling rocks him, or even just like stings him with a real sharp 3-piece and Bellato isn't unconscious, Bellato might try to take him down. I'm interested to see what that looks like as well. I've got Stirling here, and I think he's going to get his first UFC finish here because he's going to be against a guy who is defensively porous on the feet, is aggressive on the feet, and while, like I say, he might try to take Stirling down, he's not even George Tokos from that standpoint. So give me Stirling by first round knockout here. But yeah, there is a range of distinctions in first round knockouts. It may be a first round knockout that leaves me really high on Stirling or kind of pumping the brakes on him. Can't wait to talk about it on Saturday.
It reminds me of the way you were describing Bellato. You're like, yeah, there's a clear avenue to success for him. Just knock him out. Hit him really hard. Yeah. And it reminds me of, I was at a softball tournament this weekend, and a girl was talking about bunting in certain situations. She's a really good bunter, and should I drag bunt here, or should I push it here, and this and that. And I'm like, you ever think about just hitting the ball over the fence? Like, that always works out pretty good when I see it happen. So let's just do that.
It's the Happy Gilmore thing where he like gets a hole in one on the par 4. He's like, why don't I just do that every time? That's a lot easier than putting.
Yeah. I remember like being in like a sports talk chat, and somehow some guy was like in love with Ichiro, which, I mean, obviously the guy was the man, but he was talking about Ichiro, and one guy talked about Ichiro's lack of home runs. Like, well, actually Ichiro can actually hit like tons of home runs, but he decides not to hit home runs because he had like some fucking weird super reason. I'm like, did you just say that? Like, he's like, yeah, I should try to hit double right now instead of just like, oh, I just fucking hit it out of the park.
Man, can I throw in one more? Like,
no,
you were.
That's good.
You of course remember, and I imagine most people watching remember, or at least have seen replayed, the famous Showtime kick.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, one of the greatest single moments in MMA history, like at least as a highlight. I remember, like, obviously that's all anybody in MMA talked about for the next 2 weeks, and it even made like ESPN's top 10, which was a rarity in 2010. But I remember someone from Jackson Wink, and I'm glad I don't remember which fighter because I totally out them for saying this right now. But they were like, it probably like it wasn't someone like Condit, but whoever it was said, oh, that wasn't even that impressive. John Dodson does stuff like that in the gym all the time. And I was like, congratulations, you have identified the problem with John Dodson. That's not the flex you think it is. That is the exact opposite of what you were trying to accomplish. Like, yes, Anthony Pettis is awesome because he did something in a real fight against a top 10 fighter that other people only do in the gym. Congratulations. Yeah.
This fight. Rodolfo, I mean, he's a really big guy for the weight class, but the problem is he's slow. He's kind of lumbering. His striking isn't very pretty. I mean, he has decent volume, but his hands are slow. Now, obviously, you mentioned he has some pop. If he connects, it can be a problem. But his defense sucks. I mean, he really pillars, which I hate. He's so hittable. He keeps his chin high. He doesn't change his head except for like straight back. He hates being pressured. He had a lot of shots from Petroria, like easily. He struggled with the speed of Petroria, which that's saying something. He does throw some good calf kicks. He will close the distance and work in the clinch. I like his plum clinch, some dirty boxing. He uses his size well in there. He will try to sneak in a takedown, but he's not very good at it. If he's on top, he does have some mean ground and pound. He has a good grapple. He has 4 subs on his record. He's hard to take down, though. If he is taken down, he needs to improve his get-out game. And for a big guy, I do like his cardio, but a lot of it has to do with his volume. Now, Stirling, he's a Muay Thai striker, a lot of kickboxing experience. Doesn't have the best hand speed for a guy who's like a top prospect. I do like his left hook. I like that he targets the body. He has some good power. A beautiful KO on the Contender Series. He does move his head, which I like. He bounces his head off the center line. Big kicking game. A lot of teep kicks, big head kicks, throw some question mark kicks out there. I love his stepping knees. He will also clinch a lot, use his size well in the clinch. He will wrestle, but he's not really great at it. But what I've been most impressed when things start going wrong, he stays composed and he finds a way, even when he's hurt, including his last fight, to find a way to recover and have success. Stirling is a guy that a lot of people like. I'm not that high on him. I still think he's going to be too fast for Bellato, even though he's not really that fast himself. I say he uses his footwork to keep his distance. I think he picks apart Bellato from distance. I don't think he finishes him, though. Give me Stirling by decision.
Next up at UFC Perth is one of only 2 heavyweight fights on the card, unless Michelle Montague has really, really let herself go since leaving PFL. It is Justin Tafa versus Louie Sutherland. Tafa, the 31-year-old Australian, is 7-5 with 1 no contest overall. He's 4-5 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He fought most recently at UFC 312 back in February, where he got knocked out in just 30 seconds by Ellison Teixeira. So looking to snap that losing streak, get back some of the momentum he had in 2023. He had been scheduled to fight Ibo Aslan. Aslan was forced to withdraw. In steps Sutherland for his UFC debut. 31-year-old Englishman, 10-3 overall. He fought most recently back in June. And in fact, he has fought 4 times in like the last 9 months, 9 or 10 months. He's been a busy guy, fighting in Levels Fight League, which is a bit ironic because it is not really a top level fight league in Northern Europe. But at any rate, he's coming in on a 4-fight win streak. He also appeared in PFL a couple of years ago for several fights. Tafa is just the slightest of favorites here. He's minus 120. Sutherland is plus 100. I guess the good news for Tafa is that the line is about what it would have been if it had been Ibo Aslan. Like, when Tafa got to the UFC, I thought he was a terrible heavyweight. And then he turned into a halfway decent heavyweight. And now he's sort of regressing to the mean. He's still just 31 years old. So I guess the good news about that is that he could continue to be just okay for like another 10 years. I already said this about Loma Lukbumi on this card, and it's for different reasons, but Tafa is a guy that is very dependent on matchups. Like, if he's fighting a guy that will just go toe-to-toe with him, he's capable of looking great. Almost anything else, and he struggles. Anyone who can take him down, he's in trouble. And anyone who wants to strike with him and has better reach, better footwork, is just a niftier striker. Tends to make him look kind of sloppy. Like, I know he's a Mark Hunt protege, but Hunt was incredibly nimble despite looking kind of just, like this big tubby Samoan guy. He was surprisingly nimble up until the end, even at age like 40, 41.
Like Derek Lewis.
Yeah. Yes, that's a great comparison. And hard, even up close to the end, like when his chin was gone, like he still had pretty fast hands. Tafa doesn't really have any of that. Like he has massive power, like you would expect of a guy that has missed weight twice at heavyweight, swinging as hard as he can, but short reach, not much variety on his strikes, poor defense. Like his defense just consists of hitting the other guy first and harder. I mean, the good news, I guess, is that Sutherland is exactly the kind of guy that Tafa can look good against, because Sutherland is a little bigger framed, but not much bigger. He is a striker by preference. And while obviously he has a ton of knockouts, most of them are of the accumulation of damage variety rather than just flatlining people with a single strike. And one thing Tafa does seem to have a little of from Hunt is a bit of a chin and a bit of a cement head. The line is close, but my confidence in Tafa is just slipping, because it's not just that the results have kind of regressed back to the mean. It's that like he seems to have regressed as well. Like he's just turning back into the kind of very basic 2-technique slugger he was 5 or 6 years ago. It'll be close, but I think Sutherland is gonna be more active, land more volume, and if neither guy hurts the other guy super, super bad, if we don't get any knockdowns in this fight, that's probably what's going to decide the rounds. So give me Sutherland by decision here, but probably in a fight that doesn't engender a lot of confidence for either fighter.
Yeah, this fight. What the fuck? I mean, I understand why the Toffers is still in the UFC. I mean, when they win, it's fun. Obviously, Justin Tafa, I mean, he's this huge heavyweight, but I mean, he got smoked by Taliesin Teixeira in his last fight. So I mean, I'd say he's on the decline, but he's always like not that good to begin with. So southpaw boxer, some quick hands. His step back counters, his step back counter left is his best strike. Going all the way back like Harry Hunsucker, that's what he smoked him with. He throws a lot of uppercuts too. He does have like earth-shattering power if it connects. The problem is he needs to improve his defense. He lacks head movements. He's really bad because he pillars. He can be too aggressive, leave him open to be countered. We saw that against like Jorgen De Castro. His ground game is terrible. No get-up game at all. Terrible fight IQ. When his opponent wants to get him down, he makes it even easier. He'll throw like high kicks and knees and stuff. Just not like he must be a coach's nightmare. Louie Sutherland, I don't know what to do with this dude. First of all, he's feasting on some low-level guys. He's a very physically strong guy, but one fight, the dude has like super jacked muscles. The next fight, he has this massive beer belly. So I don't know what we get. Hopefully we get like this steroided up dude. Like one fight, he looks like he lifts kegs. The other one, he looks like he drinks kegs. So I don't know. On the feet, he has a big right hand. He tends to load up on everything. He will follow his strikes to the clinch, where he does well in the clinch. He some nice knees inside. He'll grab a snatch single, but I wouldn't call him a wrestler. I've seen him just duck his head and just kind of rush forward and grab a leg. If he gets it down, he goes right to 12-6 elbows when he's on top. I saw one where the referee should have jumped in. The guy took way too many elbows from on top. Throws a lot. One thing he also does, I should have said this earlier, he throws a lot of calf kicks. His last fight, he beat his opponent pretty much just calf kicks. So this is the exact guy Tafa can face plant in under a minute. But I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go with the vanilla gorilla. I think he's going to charge at Tafa, get to the clinch. I think he's going to drop down in a single leg. And I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to beat him up on top. I think Tafa's going to stop looking really tired by the second. I never say Sutherland does it over and over again. I think he finished him with ground and pound in the second.
Next up at UFC Perth is a lightweight matchup. Nolan, the 25-year-old Aussie, is 9-1 overall. He is 3-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He graduated from the Contender Series at the beginning of last year, got knocked out in his UFC debut by Nicholas Mota in just 63 seconds. But since then, he has racked up 3 straight wins over Victor Martinez, Alex Reyes, and in his most recent outing at UFC 312 back in February, Vyacheslav Borshov, whom he beat by unanimous decision. So Nolan, the guy who goes by Big Train, will look to make it 4 in a row in one of the deepest divisions in the UFC. He had been scheduled to take on Evan Elder in Perth, but Elder was forced to withdraw from the card. In steps Ray Longo protege Charlie Campbell. Campbell is 9-2 overall. He is 2-0 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought on season 6, didn't win. In fact, he got flatlined by Chris Duncan in the first round, but went back and won another fight in CFFC, got signed about 2 years ago, and since then he's 2-0. That's the good news. The bad news is that the most recent of those wins was almost 18 months ago. He picked up a unanimous decision over Trevor Peek last April at UFC Fight Night Allen versus Curtis. So Campbell looking for his 3rd straight win in the UFC. Nolan looking for his 4th. Nolan is your favorite. He's minus 160. Campbell is plus 130. Keith, do you believe in Tom Nolan to any serious extent right now? And who do you think wins this fight on Saturday?
I mean, I believe he exists. I mean, I don't know.
He's not a deep fake. He's like some AI generated fighter.
No.
Do your chat GPT draw me a 6'2" Australian? Like,
yeah. Give him a Jewish name too, but they forgot that part. This is actually one of the fights I'm really looking forward to. One thing I like about Nolan, he's only 25 years old, so that right away stands out to me. I see he's a good athlete, gigantic for the weight class. You mentioned 6'3", long and lanky, high volume guy. He's on the gas the second the fight starts, which I love. He just walks through punches, fast hands, accurate. He has nice power, and I mean, he really hasn't even come to those power years yet. He throws some spinning attacks, big kicking game, kicks hard too. I love his stepping knees. Not much of an offensive wrestler, and his spinning attacks leave him open to be taken down too. But if he ends up on top, I like his ground and pound. You got to worry about his durability though. I mean, Nicholas Mota, obviously hurt him bad. He was dropped by Victor Martinez, despite destroying him in that fight. And he can fight down his competition. He should have murdered Alex Reyes, and he didn't even get a finish. So there's a lot of things that I don't like about Nolan. Move over to Charlie Campbell. He's a guy that he's looked good so far in the UFC. A guy who looked kind of better and better each fight. I still would categorize him as a minus athlete. Very unusual striking style, very herky jerky style with his movement, but it works for him. I kind of like his striking. He has pretty good hand speed. Keeps his boxing inside, short, accurate, plus power. I mean, he hurt Chris Duncan a bunch of times on the feet in their fight. He does defend strikes with pillar, which I don't like. He lacks head movement, something I obviously don't like. Big kicking game though, hard calf kicks. Will throw a lot of naked kicks, so that's worried. He also doesn't check leg kicks. He keeps his base underneath him, but because of that, he has a lot of weight on his front leg, so he's open to that. He can wrestle though. Good entries on his takedowns. I don't say this a lot, but I think this is the 3rd time I'm saying this. Turns the corner really well on his entries, and good cardio. So I like this fight a lot. I kind of like both fighters. Do I think they'll be future champions or something? No. That's really hard to say, and I'm pretty confident they won't be. But the winner will definitely continue to have an arrow going up. I've kind of flip-flopped a little on this one. I'm going to go with Nolan due to his size advantage and his volume, but I am worried that Campbell might just out-wrestle him. I think both guys going to have their moments. Give me Nolan by split decision.
Yeah, I like the idea you put forth there that for a fight where the line is what it is here, and again, Nolan is minus 160, Campbell plus 130. There's definite upset potential here. Nolan has demonstrated lapses in defense on the feet, and for what it's worth, Campbell hits hard and throws enough volume that he's going to give himself chances to put that power on Nolan's chin. And then there's also the X factor of the wrestling. My gut says this fight ends with one of them knocking the other out on the feet in the first 3 minutes. Like that, I think that's the most likely outcome. And if that's the outcome, I think it's probably about 60-40, 70-30 that it's Nolan over Campbell. I think he's just a little bigger, a little better on the feet, hits maybe a little harder, but like I say, plenty of upset potential there. And as the fight progresses, Campbell's chances to wrestle effectively increase as well. I'm tempted to take the upset on this one. And I mean,
nice.
My pick is Nolan by first round knockout.
Right.
But if this thing makes it to the end of the first round and it wasn't like a 10-8, one guy isn't half dead, I'm leaning upset. If I was the kind of guy to bet on live odds, I'd be looking for and hammering the live odds on Campbell, even if he loses the first round. But as it is, I think these guys are too aggressive, hit too hard, and have too many holes on the feet for one of them not to catch the other in the first round. So give me Nolan by first round knockout, but this is a closer fight with more upset potential than I made it sound like just there. Welterweights take the cage next at UFC Fight Night 260 as Jake Matthews looks to get one against Neil Magny. Matthews, the 31-year-old Australian, is 22-7 overall. He's 15-7 in the UFC, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. Since losing to Michael Morales a little under 2 years ago, he has rattled off 3 straight wins over Phil Rowe, Francisco Prado, and Chidi Njokuani. The most recent of those, the Njokuani fight, was back in July at UFC on ESPN, Lewis versus Teixeira. So he'll be looking for his 4th straight win. That would be his longest win streak in the UFC. He has 2 different 3-fight win streaks. This will be the first 4-fight win streak and would show him perhaps to be finally coming into his own at age 31. And incidentally, by my math, that means he's been in the UFC since he was 7 years old. It just feels like he's been in the UFC for a long, long time to just be 31. But yeah, he's got to get past Magny for any of that to matter. Magny, 38-year-old American, 30-13 overall, 23-12 since joining the UFC out of season 16 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is coming in off a win. He knocked out Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos in the second round back in August at UFC on ESPN, Tyra versus Park. That snapped the 2-fight losing streak for him, both of those losses being first-round knockouts. He'd like to keep the good vibes going, or presumably at least not get knocked out again. He is not favored to get it done. Matthews is the biggest favorite on the card. He is minus 475, Magny plus 350. Keith, I'm not shocked that Matthews is a big favorite here, even though Magny's coming off a win. Tell me if you see it differently, and tell me if you think Magny has any of the magic left as kind of one of our guys for a long time to get it done here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish these guys would fight each other in their prime. Like, I feel like Matthews is still kind of on the cusp of his prime. I started giving up on him a while ago, and he kind of turned it around. Mm-hmm. Well, Magny, I mean, it's safe to say Magny is not in his prime. If he win, like if Magny wins, it's not good for the UFC. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
if Magny wins, it's everything about Matthews and nothing about Magny.
Yeah, let's do this just if it's time. We've broken down Magny a million times. I'm just gonna say this: the only thing I will say about Magny, he showed in his last fight. Yeah, there's a lot of things declining. I think his hand speed's going down. I think his output's going down. But he's still intelligent, and the biggest thing is he still has that dog in him. You know, what could his chin durability completely like go under and crash in a second? And could it be this fight? Yeah, Magny's fought like 33,859 fights in the UFC. So it's like, you know, it can happen at any time. I mean, we saw him get starched by Carlos Prates, but Prates can do that to anybody. So I'm not going to break down Magny. We know what you got with him. Matthews, he's a good athlete. He moves well. Not the best volume on the feet. A bit of a like calculated counter striker on the feet. Slip and rip striker. He actually does best when he's in the pocket. He showed against Phil Rowe that he also has some dog left in him, more than I originally thought. Seems like his hand speed has actually improved, which is kind of crazy. He'll still throw some big looping punches, but he has some power. I like that he's been targeting the body so much. His striking still is plan B. He still wants to use a striker to set up his wrestling. He's got some good entries. He also has some good foot sweeps in the clinch. When he's got himself in trouble, and I'm sure it was against tough guys, is when he's abandoned his wrestling. Like, he didn't wrestle Michael Morales at all. Not that it probably would have mattered. He also didn't wrestle Phil Rowe. If he gets the fight to the ground, he's got a good top game. Busy ground and pound. He moves to a better position. And obviously, we've talked about this a million times with Matthews, he's a submission specialist. He's got 9 subs on his record. So I think Matthews smokes Magny. I think he gets inside. I think he's going to be too fast. I think he's going to hurt Magny. I think Magny's going to try to clinch. I actually think Matthews might throw him on his back if he does. I say he does this for 15 minutes. I think Magny still shows he's tough as hell and takes the beating. But I think it might be a sad night for Magny fans. Give me Matthews by decision.
Yeah, I like that you pointed out that while Magny, obviously he's in decline. He's 38, 39. Yeah, he's 38, just turned 38. And he has, exactly. He has 15 million fights in the UFC, but it's not an overnight decline. And just because he got knocked out bad a year ago doesn't mean his chin is gone. Because the thing is, like 10 years ago, he got knocked the hell out by Lorenz Larkin. It has always been possible for an excellent power striker to blitz Magny and blow him away, often in the first round. Just like it's always been possible for a serious ground wizard to just completely run him over on the ground, like quickly. He's always been well-rounded, tough, and a smart fighter and a cardio machine, but susceptible to outstanding specialists. The problem is that Matthews is, as you mentioned, kind of a specialist, and he's done his level best to get more well-rounded. I kind of threw off the line that he was 12 or whatever when he joined the UFC. He was, in fact, 19. It's not just that he was the youngest guy in the UFC. He was the youngest guy in the UFC for like the first 2 years he was there. And that's while Sage Northcutt was there. And not ahead of this fight, but ahead of his last fight, I went back and watched some of his early fights in the UFC. His striking was so ugly back then. Like that, I mean, that was well before we were have this show, well before I was scouting fighters on any sort of, professional basis. But looking back, I just remember being like, a guy that looks like you and moves like you should be a much better kickboxer, and you're terrible. And he's actually gotten to the point where, at least as a means to an end, he can take care of himself on the feet long enough that he doesn't have to necessarily go for desperate low percentage takedown attempts. I'm with you in that I think we're at the point where Matthews is good enough at what he's good at, confident enough that you're right. He might just chuck Magny on the ground the first time they get in the clinch together. And from there, again, Magny, very good grappler, very underrated grappler. Pretty much everything about Magny is underrated, but Matthews is really, really good down there and physically stronger than ever. And that's always been an issue for Magny as well. Like, he's always been susceptible to getting muscled around, especially on the ground, by just physically stronger welterweights. I think that's what we get here. But even if Matthews tests his luck on the feet, I think he's going to at least hold his own there. This is a bad matchup for Magny, or it's a bad time for Magny for this fight to be happening. I think you pick Magny by decision. That wouldn't surprise me.
No, I pick Matthews.
I'm sorry. You pick Matthews by decision. I don't think we get that far. Give me Matthews by second round submission. And I think we're going to see a little bit of ragdolling on the way there, unfortunately. Third from the top at UFC Perth is a light heavyweight matchup between Jimmy Crute and Ivan Urslan. Crute, the 29-year-old Australian, is 13-4-2 overall. He's 5-4-2 since joining the UFC out of season 2 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a win. He armbarred Marcin Prachnio in the first round at UFC 318 back in July. That's the good news. The bad news is that was Krut's first win in 5 years. He went on a stretch where he went 0-3-2 and talked openly multiple times between different ones of those fights about maybe not his heart not being into fighting anymore, wanting to go do something else. That's never a thing you want to hear, especially if you see that person get back in there and put their health on the line a few months later. But he did get back into the win column against Prachnio, and he'll be looking for his first 2-fight win streak in 5 years if he can get past Ellison. 33-year-old Croatian, 14-5 with 1 no contest overall. 0-2 in the UFC. He joined the UFC almost exactly a year ago. Since then, he has a split decision loss to Iwan Kudalaba. And then this May at UFC 315, he has a unanimous decision loss to Navajo Stirling. So Ellison still looking for his first UFC win. He is not favored to get it, as Krut is minus 190, Ellison plus 150.
Why is this fight so high up the card?
Well, the cynical reason is I think they're pretty confident Krut is going to win. And for a guy that is literally barely over 500 in the UFC, he is sneaky popular with fans in general and Australian fans in particular. They're going to go bananas for him like they will for probably no one on this card other than Ulberg. Like Krut, and much love and respect to our man Devin Tejada of the Check the Kick podcast on this one, but Jimmy Krut is a very light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight.
Yeah.
They give him no respect.
Like light heavyweight is the division where pretty much everybody does at least 1 or 2 things well. And most of I'm not going to say most, but a lot of the fighters are good athletes, but it is the low fight IQ division. And you look at Krut's 5-fight skid. There's some shades there. Like he has a TKO loss to Anthony Smith, but that's because of a kind of weird low percentage injury. You know, the first round was kind of exciting. It looked like we were headed for a good fight. In 2021, Anthony Smith was still a very dangerous dude. But yeah, like Krut hurt his arm, couldn't continue between rounds. Like losing to Jamal Hill in a minute in 2021. I mean, that was probably Hill's prime when he was on his way up and just thrashing people. But the draw against Rodolfo Bellato was not pretty. And his 2 fights with Alonzo Menefield, they only even fought twice because the first one, yeah.
First one was fun, but yeah, he looked terrible.
Yeah. And the thing is, in the first one, it's a draw, but it's a draw because Menefield got penalized a point for grabbing the cage. If he hadn't grabbed the cage, there's every possibility that would be a win for Krut, pounding him out on the canvas 45 seconds later. But that makes it even worse that he came back 4 months later and looked terrible and said he was thinking of maybe retiring. And then, yeah, the draw with Rodolfo Bellato. Like I just mentioned that Rodolfo Bellato has some sneaky upset potential against Stirling, but future contenders at 205 don't have that fight against Rodolfo Bellato. So it's interesting that Krut is almost a 2-1 favorite based on arm barring maybe the guy with the worst ground game in the entire division in his last fight. Like the good news is if he can do that to Marcin Prachnio, there's a chance he could do it to Ivan Ellison. Ellison is built kind of similarly. He is also very much a striker by preference. I mean, he's not exactly the same. Marcin Prachnio has like the weird pigeon-toed karate stance, and Ellison is much more of a traditional Euro-style kickboxer. But if Krut was not light heavyweight brain Jimmy Krut, there's no reason he shouldn't be like a minus 350 favorite here. He should be able to take Urslan down and absolutely maul him on the ground, just like punch his head 10 times and then like Kimura him or keylock him or something. The problem is that Kroot might come out and just fight a completely bizarre game plan, or he might come out with a good game plan, get clocked once by Urslan, and just go into some weird mode where he doesn't try for a takedown the entire rest of the fight. Like, I think that's why these odds are even as close as they are, because otherwise, Urslan hasn't even conclusively proven that he belongs in this division. I'm going to go with Kroot here. I'm going to say that he's one of those guys where having his loved ones there, having the crowd going absolutely berserk for him will feed his energy rather than sap it. Because again, if Kroot fights to his best advantage, I think there's a pretty straightforward win for him here. And with fear and trepidation, that's my pick. Give me Kroot by second round submission. Yeah, but again, if Jekyll and Hyde Kroot shows up 2 minutes into this fight, all bets are off.
Yeah. Yeah, this fight is so high in the card, and it's one of the ones I'm just kind of done with Jimmy Kroot. I know. Obviously, you think about him being a fan favorite, he's still fairly young. But I mean, he's a good athlete.
Dude, he's 29. Everything I said about Jake Matthews, who's 31, kind of goes for Kroot as well.
Yeah. I just think Matthews is a lot more obviously mentally strong. And I mean, I'm not trying to say that insult. I mean, the guy gets in a cage and fights big ass dudes to punch hard for a living. So I can give him a little bit of a pass on self-doubt and stuff. I'm not the one getting punched in the face. So like, I understand that, but when he stays on the outside, he's a kind of a low output striker. But he does best when he's in the pocket. He loves to brawl, but I shouldn't say he does best, but that's what he wants to do. He loves to brawl, but it might not be that wise. I mean, he's taken tons of damage. I mean, look at the Jamal Hill knockout. Like, he was knocked out bad. He is a bit of a stationary target. He lacks head movement. He does have some power. He throws a lot of kicks. He loves his high kicks. He likes teep kicks. But though he's open to counters because he doesn't set them up. He's still a better ground fighter than he is on the feet. He's an okay wrestler. I mean, the broadcast team is going to try to pretend that he's the Australian Zahid Valencia or something out there, but he's not. It's
because he looks wrestly. He's a jack dude with a mullet.
Yeah, he looks like it. He likes to shoot takedowns when he's over pursued, so that's probably his best chance again to fight to the ground. He's pretty good at winning scrambles, good at following the hip and winning the head battle and cutting angles well and doing like the little things that wrestlers do. It's just his initial entry isn't that fast. If he gets to fight to the ground, he looks to advanced position. He's got good ground and pound. The problem is he has gassed bad in the past. Urslan's not going to press the pace with him. He's a very low volume striker. He wants to work from distance. He hates being pressured. Defensively, back straight up. He pillars. He's been hurt a bunch on the feet. He does better when he's the one pressing forward, working behind the jab, following some big hooks, loading up on big overhand rights. He has some nice power. He has 10 TKOs. He'll look to wrestle a lot. I think he's a weak offensive wrestler. Nothing stands out to me in his wrestling. I have no idea about this fight because I am not very high on either guy. I mean, Kroot looked like he was going to be someone special, but now he just looks like he's just a bust. If this was like a football draft pick, we'd call him a bust. The problem is Urslan isn't good. He has power and he can wrestle a little, but I hate his defense. Give me Kroot to win with some scrambles, but I have no confidence. But I say he gets the fight to the ground, win some scrambles out of the top, maybe gets a ground and pound. Give me Kroot. Both guys exhausted. Kroot lands some strikes from on top, and the referee jumps in and stops it. I would say Kroot by third round TKO.
All right. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 260, a featherweight matchup between Jack Jenkins and Ramon Taveras. Jenkins, the 32-year-old Australian, is 13-4 overall. He is 3-2 since joining the UFC out of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC 312 back in February, where he got tapped out in the third round by Gabriel Santos. Prior to that, he had a win over Herbert Burns by third round TKO due to retirement. We can only hope that that was literal. Anyway, he'll be looking to get back into the win column here against Tavares, 31-year-old American, 10-3 overall, 1-1 in the UFC since joining out of season 7 of the Contender Series, where he had a memorable slugfest with Serhiy Sidi that was stopped prematurely due to a referee gaffe. He fought again on the Contender Series like 6 weeks later, got signed to the UFC and rematched Sidi. At any rate, he beat Sidi on the second try, then lost to Davey Grant in his second UFC bout last December. That leaves him where he is now, 1-1 in the promotion. Jenkins is favored to get the win here badly. Jenkins is minus 280, Tavares plus 240. Keith, we've talked a little bit about placement of fights on this card. Outside of the main event, this is a pretty thin card, but nonetheless, this co-main event it's one guy coming off a loss against another guy that's 500 in the UFC. If you ask me the 5 most likely fighters on this card to ever be ranked in the UFC outside of the main event, these guys would not be in the top 5. Like, make it make sense to me. Like, what's good about this fight and who wins?
Can we just pass? Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I make a joke about like setting the lineup, and nothing against these guys. They're actually both pretty action fight. Like, the fight will be fun and entertaining. But I mean, I guess this card, in fairness, this card isn't loaded with talent. It's not, nobody's sitting there like, oh, 2 top 10 guys are fighting each other. So there isn't a fight that wows you and says this should be the co-main event. But this is just generally all together. Like, there needs to be some kind of rhyme and reason with the cards. Like, you have rankings for a reason. I understand sometimes you don't always go strictly by the rankings, but they should be the exception to the rule. Like, for example, if Conor McGregor came back, obviously he's not ranked. You got to have him in the main event, or I guess maybe the co-main event, but probably the main event. But in this guy's prospect, like Bo Nickel's not ranked. You got to have him at a high card because he draws eyes. But those are the exception to the rules. Shouldn't it just be like, oh, we got a big heavyweight, let's throw him a co-main event and let's bury the ranked females. Let's bet them on the prelims. We had Tatiana Suarez just fighting for the title. Their next fight, she's fighting buried in the prelims of the San Antonio card. So, go ahead, say something.
Well, what if the UFC did it like a wrestling duel meet and just lined up all the fights from lightest to heaviest and like let them go at it? That'd almost be fun.
Yeah, maybe.
Especially if I could like leave after about the midweights.
Yeah, but imagine if wrestling, you could set it up the main event. I mean, I know they're supposed to pull the balls and figure out what weight class they start, but a lot of times, especially in like high school, a lot of times they leave the best match for last.
Yeah.
But imagine if like your 2 teams are wrestling and we could like, all right, this is the best one. Let's do this one last. All right, let's do this one co-main event. Like, I kind of like it like a little bit like of a swim meet, where how like the anchor goes first, but like that the anchor goes last. The best guy, the best swimmer, the fastest, Michael Phelps goes last, but like the second best goes first, and you kind of like stagger it. I think cards would be more interesting if you did. Now, obviously, pay-per-views be a little different, but just fight nights, man. If you start off with like a banger right away, and then you kind of like, you get that like lull 11, get that middle lull, or maybe you kind of, it's like a concert. You don't put all your best hits at the very end. You got to stagger them in every once in a while, and you leave the big one at the end. Anyways, the fight itself, I think, should be pretty fun. Jenkins is a really fun fighter. He fights out of both stances. He's a very good striker. Marches down his foe. He's got good volume. He uses a lot of feints, especially leg feints, which you don't see a lot, which kind of freezes his opponents. And then like he'll fake with the leg. They kind of brace up, and then he'll follow it with a kick. He also does some up and down feints, which I like. He switches stances in the middle of the ground. So a lot of times when he's actually pressuring, he'll cut at the angle by switching his stance, which I like. He has a lot of variety in striking, quick hands, great pocket boxing, great body work. He's also a very good kicker, ends combos with kicks, got a good high kick. He does avoid strikes by backing straight up sometimes, which I don't like. He likes to work in the clinch. I like his dirty boxing, knees inside. He has some judo trips. He has fairly good wrestling, fast entries. He doesn't need to improve his overall top control. He lost position to Don Shanis, which didn't look good. But he does look to advance position on the ground. Mean ground and pound. He likes those like Tito Ortiz sliding elbows from the guard position. He has 3 submission wins. He's a weaker defensive wrestler, and he struggles to get off the bottom. But he can put on a great pace, man. Like going back to like the Don Shanis fight, he didn't stop that entire fight. Tavares, he's a southpaw, solid boxing, though he will cruise a little bit too much. When you go back to the Davey Graham fight, he just refused to match the output of Davey Graham, kind of like gave that fight away. When he lets his hands go, he has quick hands. I like his straight left. Bit of a slip and rip guy, nice head movement. He will brawl a little bit. He can stand in the pocket and unleash some good shots. He will load up a lot to land those big shots, but he really steps into the shots, and he does have some pretty good power. He targets the body. He will try to get the fight to the down, but he isn't a wrestler. Like I think his wrestling sucks. But if he does get the fight to the round, he has 3 subs on his record. As far as prediction goes, we had a little mess up with my computer in between. What'd you say the betting line was?
Jenkins is a big favorite. He's minus 280. Tavares plus 240.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Like I'm all about Jenkins here. Like I want to see if I was gonna like how much I want to say it. I think he murders Tavares. I think we get I like Tavares, but I really like Jenkins. I think he gets a 10-8 first round, and then I think he finishes him in the second round. Give me Jenkins by second round TKO.
Okay. First things first, I completely agree with your stylistic and tactical breakdown of the fight. The interesting part about this is that, yeah, Jenkins should slaughter Tavares, but he always seems to find ways to make things more interesting and or complicated than they need to be. You can make a good argument that his almost all of his fights in the UFC have some sort of asterisk or but about them. Like he lost to Gabriel Santos, but you know what? He was doing great. He head kicked him in the first round, knocked him down. I actually scored the first round for Santos, but it was very competitive, and he ended up playing with fire too much on the ground. Like I thought he spent too much time just kind of courting disaster in Santos's guard in the first round, did it again in the second, and got armbarred. Against Jose Mariscal, he was whooping Mariscal. And Mariscal's a good fighter, and then just petty, freakish. Yeah, like that would have been a good win. He was cruising towards one, and then Mariscal took him down. He came down awkwardly, did the Shogun thing, and bent his arm backwards the wrong way. Like fair play to Mariscal. It wasn't a no contact injury like that happened because he threw him, but it's not like Jenkins was outclassed. But then like his wins, you mentioned, like Don Shanis is one of the worst fighters to pass through that division in the last 5 years. And he actually had moments of success against Jenkins.
No, you mean Jenkins had moments of success against him? Oh, I'm sorry. I said that backwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And then, Herbert Burns, like gassing out Herbert Burns in the third round. Just I'm more impressed by both of his losses in the UFC than by his wins over Burns or Shanis, because he's shown flashes of a guy that could be a top 15 guy.
Was that? Sorry to interrupt you. Was this the Herbert Burns where he got carried out in the cage?
Yep.
Okay, that's fucking fantastic.
Yep, that's no Gilbert. What a hero. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. Nope, he's heavy too. All right,
dude. How many freaking people do you think got that reference besides me and you?
Oh, I have no idea. If you got that reference, reference, let us know in the comments. If you didn't get that, go watch Boys Town.
I only know it because my dad played it at my uncle's funeral. That's the reason I know it.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna cry on this show if I think about.
Yeah, it wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Oh,
the same uncle you met, his brother too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good dude, that uncle. I can tell.
Thanks.
Yeah.
He's special to me.
Like I can tell by the way he and his wife treat your kids, because of course they were going to be one way with you. They were very cordial to me, but watching them interact with your kids and the way your kids like them, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're good people.
Treat them like grandchildren. They're the best. Absolute best. Anyways.
Anyway. So yeah, Jenkins.
They'll carry my kids around like Herbert Burns.
So you're absolutely right. Jenkins should thrash Tavares. Stylistically, it is a wild, aggressive, fun striker against an aggressive, well-schooled striker with probably better physical tools. Like it should look like Tavares ran into a wood chipper and Jenkins should win by TKO, I'd say in the first round and a half. The interest in this fight for me is seeing if Jenkins finds a way to make this interesting that he shouldn't, or even again, finds a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They can play one of two ways. He's the co-main event. He could just be like, okay, I'm a made man. If I get my hand raised at the end, I'm just going to fight a pretty disciplined kickboxing match for me. Take this guy down a few times if I need to kind of seal rounds or stop momentum, but not get too wild. Or he could go, oh man, they're going to give me the keys to the city if I knock this dude out and maybe get himself into some trouble. I'm picking him to win either way. But again, I feel like I've said this 5 or 6 times a show. If I were a betting man, I wouldn't touch this one with a 10-foot pole just because of Jenkins's demonstrated ability to give inferior fighters big moments or even wins in weird ways. But yeah, I'll take Jenkins by second round TKO. With that, we come to the main event of UFC Fight Night 260, also known as UFC Perth. It is a light heavyweight contenders match between Carlos Ulberg and Dominic Reyes. Ulberg, the 34-year-old New Zealander, is 12-1 overall. He's 8-1 since joining the UFC out of season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his UFC debut back in March of 2021 at UFC 259, was doing well against Kennedy Zechikwu until a momentary defensive lapse allowed Zechikwu to catch him, put him down, and boom, first career loss. Since then, he has rattled off 8 straight wins in generally impressive fashion over a very logically laid out series of opponents. Like, you look back at the 8 guys he's beaten, and if you ask me to rank them in order of how good they are, I might put them in literally that exact same order, from Fabio Charant to Jan Blachowicz. Like, it's sterling matchmaking on the part of the UFC over the course of the last 4 years with this guy. But yeah, he fought most recently at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady back in March, took a unanimous decision over Blachowicz. That puts him here in the headliner in the country next door to his own, in a fight with at least outside title implications. The man standing across from him, Reyes, 35-year-old American, 15-4 overall, 9-4 in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak over the past 15 months or so. All of them by knockout. Beat Dustin Jacoby, Anthony Smith, and most recently in April at UFC 314, Nikita Krylov, whom he clocked with a one-hit KO in the first round. Odds do favor Ulberg. He is minus 240. Reyes is plus 200. Keith, if you told me 5 years ago, like 5.5 years ago, right after his loss to John Jones here in Houston, that Dominic Reyes was going to be headlining a UFC card in Australia, I would have said, ooh, he must be the defending champ. Yeah,
like who's the Australian guy that came up the scene?
Yeah, is it Adesanya? Did he move?
Yeah.
If you told me 2 years ago, after he lost his 4th fight in a row, 3 of them by knockout, and just got clocked by Ryan Spann, I would have been like, there's not fighting for the UFC in Australia, or did he get signed to like Hex Fighting Championship or something?
Yeah. Slap boxing or like Australia.
I mean, that's this guy's UFC run. He won his first 6 or 7 fights. He lost 4 in a row. He's now won 3 in a row. And it's tempting to try to explain the losing streak away by saying, well, once he fought Jones and in some people's minds beat Jones, the UFC was just way too slow to give him any kind of break. It was just the level of competition he was fighting. But I don't believe that, because he actually looked terrible against those guys. He didn't even look like the same guy that took Jones to the wire, especially against Prochazka and Spann. But then he's looked great over these last 3 fights. Like, he was gone for almost 2 full years, came back. He's won 3 fights in a row, and I'm pretty sure I've picked all 3 wrong. I'm pretty sure I've picked Reyes to lose all 3 of them. So, one, fair play to Dominic Reyes. There's no smoke and mirrors here. The 3 people he's beaten are all good. Like, Smith might have fallen out of the top 15 by the time he fought him, but he's at least a legit, he's a legit test. And then Jacoby and Krylov.
It's been okay win at the time.
Yeah. And Jacoby and Krylov are both good fighters. Like, Reyes is...
Yeah, Krylov was a really good one.
Mm-hmm. And he crushed him. Yeah, no, and he crushed him. It's... like, all of my gut, all of my common sense, all of my study of these guys makes me think, okay, this is a bad matchup for Reyes. Like, Olberg is just as big as he is. He's faster. He's younger. He's a better technical striker. He has comparable power. This is a terrible match. And I don't think Reyes can or will wrestle him. Like, Olberg should murk Reyes. But again, I've said that about Reyes' last 3 opponents, and he's knocked them all out. If Reyes beats Olberg, I guess I'm on the train. Like, you'll hear me say on the recap, folks, like, if Reyes beats Olberg uncontroversially, you'll hear me say on the recap, I'm not picking against Dominic Reyes again until he loses. Like, he will have made a believer out of me. But having said that, I do think the fun comes to an end here. Because with Olberg, the loss to Kennedy Zechukwu, it was a true anomaly. It wasn't just that, okay, yeah, he was doing well against a dangerous fighter and got caught, but okay, now we know that he's one of those light heavyweight type guys that's just going to make a couple big mistakes per fight, and if you can catch him, you can beat him. He turned into like a, light heavyweight Trevin Giles type thing, or we'll insert name of light heavyweight here. But that hasn't really been the case. Like, his defense is good on the feet. Because of that, it would take kind of a freak occurrence for Reyes to win this one. And if he doesn't win it, he's going to be dealing with someone in Olberg who is just justifiably riding super high in terms of confidence right now, and is a very dangerous striker at pretty much every range. He's nasty inside. He's nasty kind of at the outskirts of phone booth range, and he's a nasty out striker. So not many safe places for Reyes. Reyes will sometimes like to exchange kicks at long range with other long-limbed fighters. I don't think that's a good idea here. I think he'd just get head kicked. And if he tries to crash inside, he might be able to do some damage there, might be able to get Olberg down, but I just think he's going to be running into artillery the whole time. Bad night for Reyes. Give me Olberg by TKO late in the first round. But just for the sake of the story, I wouldn't mind being wrong on this one.
Let me ask you this. Speaking about being wrong, what would be better for the UFC? What do you think?
Olberg.
You think Olberg would be good?
I think Olberg would be good. Like,
I think it depends how it happens.
Okay. Yes. Like, it would be the best for Olberg if within the next year he was an uncontroversial, unquestionable title contender, and that involves getting past Reyes here in uncontroversial fashion. Like, that's the best thing for the UFC. So,
yeah, if it looks like a Sean Strickland fight where he jabs, push kicks his leg, moves, jabs, does it 5 rounds, maybe some clinching. No, I'd be better if Dominic Reyes does what Dominic Reyes does, gets a brawl going and freaking connects and knocks his head off. I'm torn because I think that the story of Dominic Reyes' turnaround, the guy who I don't know, I don't have the polls in front of me, but I think the majority of people thought he beat John Jones. And I do think there's some of that. We've never seen John Jones. If it gets close, people lean the guy you didn't expect away. Because I'll go to my grave saying this one. Well, first of all, you ready? I'm going to pick a fight. John Jones versus Alexia is one of the most overrated fights. The first one is one of the most overrated fights of all time. It wasn't that good. It was just a pretty average fight. And John Jones clearly wins that fight. There's no argument for Alexander Gustafsson to win 3 rounds in that fight.
No.
But it's that he gets a little more credit than he deserves. It's like when a ranked college football team, Penn State plays, I don't know, freaking UConn or some unranked team, and they're supposed to roll by 40, and the final score is like 25-20, and everyone's like the other team's walking out like they won.
Oh yeah.
Like UConn's walking out like they won because they were supposed to get rolled by 50.
I love that when Keith just picks his brain for like a bad college football team, he immediately the dart lands in New England. Like, you just moved to Texas already.
I almost said Boston College, but Boston College plays freaking Alabama and they lose 31-20, and it's like,
and it's not that one time every 10 years that Boston College is like a top 15 team. It's like bad Boston College.
It's been a long time since Boston College was good. I think it's had a good team since the Matt Ryan days. Anyways, but I think the fun like that. So anyways, what I was gonna say is Dominic Reyes is the only person that I think really did beat John Jones. Mm-hmm. And again, you probably one of the ones you watch it 10 times, you might score 5 for Jones, 5 for Reyes. I think the Thiago Santos fight wasn't as close people say. I don't think the Gustafsson fight was that close. Anyways, I think that'd be fun. I mean, it'd be more fun if John Jones was the light heavyweight champion of the world while he was making this turnaround. But just this guy was completely done to. I mean, if he wins and he wins by knockout, he's in line to fight for the title. Especially if Pereira doesn't win. If Pereira wins on Saturday, you could make an argument for the next Saturday. You make an argument for the trilogy fight. But if Micallef wins, that's going to be Reyes' fight. And obviously, if Ulberg wins, it's probably his fight too. I understand the Ulberg, but the guy's marketable. He's good looking, but he's not the most fun fighter. So that's why I was asking you who do you think would be best for the UFC now as far as their fighting and the breakdown. I mean, I love this turnaround by Reyes. It to me, it's one of the most underrated stories in MMA. And what I like that he is, we bagged on this card and everything. I do like that he gets to shine this week. It's all about Reyes and Ulberg. That's the center of the MMA world right now. There's nothing else going on, nothing bigger than it. If he wins, he's the one who'll have an interview with Ariel Helwani, maybe for travel, but maybe by Wednesday he's doing an interview with Ariel Helwani. He's the guy on the front of Sherdog's page. He's a great athlete. He is still, even though he isn't what he was when he was coming up, he's still a good athlete. Southpaw, he's a counter striker. He's still very explosive. Still has pretty good hand speed. Nice variety in his attacks, uses his movement well and counters. He can land while backing up. His step back left counter was his best blow in his rise, like up the ranks to get a title shot against John Jones. And again, I know we're living in the past, but I mean, he did it over and over again to guys. He has big power. I mean, he is all athleticism and speed, and I've said this before about him. Like that can fade overnight, and that what concerns me most about him. Because he relies on being explosive and doesn't have the best technique. He is open to be countered. Even against like Ryan Spann, he was loading up a lot. He's surprisingly hittable and that's because he becomes a stationary target sometimes, which is weird because I feel like he has good footwork and like almost like plants his feet too much. When we saw bad Reyes, I mean, Jan Blachowicz teed off on him. Yuri Prochazka teed off on him because was standing right there. And yeah, this turnaround has been great, but I still have big question marks about his chin. I mean, I was there when he got knocked out by a jab from Ryan Spann, and obviously that's a loss that has not aged well. Because he likes to strike when his opponents attack, he likes to try to meet to the middle. He has this he has like a very bladed stance, but sometimes because of that, he'll get like pressure too much. Like he'll try to time it, and then as they come with a counter, like they come with a second and third below, he's only looking for that one punch, so he's getting hit and he backs to the cage. He's not bad in the clinch. I mean, he wouldn't get in the clinch against John Jones. I mean, I know I keep bringing up the John Jones because that's what he's most known for, and that was forever ago. But he held his own in the clinch against John Jones, which nobody can say. He almost never looks for takedowns. If he ends up on top, he has mean ground and pound. He's a big dude, so he's hard to hold down. He loves to use his height in those like Travis Brown downward elbows. I mean, we saw that against Anthony Smith. If taken down, he's hard to hold down. He springs right back up. The one concern I have about him is, and again, I'm going all the way back to the John Jones fight, is we saw what his peak can be. He could have been the guy to beat the greatest fighter of all time, still in his prime years when he's champion. But you always have to wonder. Yet Jones was in his prime years, probably still, or maybe at the back end of his prime years, but still like in the pound for pound conversation, still the champion and everything. But was that still the best John Jones on that night because of all the shit he does? Did he look past him? Was he freaking doing cocaine with freaking strippers the night before? Like, so do we over evaluate Dominic Reyes' skill because of that? Things we might not know of. Now, maybe he just had one hell of a night and he has that ability. He can be the best guy in the world on any given night. I don't know. Move on to Olberg. He's an elite athlete. I mean, a very good striker. Much different striking style than Reyes. He's very comfortable, relaxed, calculated. He's explosive, very kickboxing style, technically sound, quick hands, very accurate. He likes to pop shot from range. It's kind of your classic outstriker. He cuts angles well when he's being attacked, and that's because he also, like Reyes, has very good footwork. He's good at using his movement to pull his opponents into his power. I wonder who's going to lead the dance in this fight. Because they both like to counter strike. Who's going to be the one who are trying to press the action forward? He has a good check left hook that he keeps his range well, and people actually walk into as you try to pressure him. He uses a lot of feints with his hands and his hips. I'd say he has plus power. Like he has power because of his accuracy. He has that like Izzy power where it's so accurate. But generally speaking, like I wouldn't say he's this, and I'm not comparing his striking to Izzy just because they're teammates. I just mean like he lands so clean when he does knock guys out. Very good kicking game. He liked those like mean John Jones oblique kicks. So that's something I can see against Reyes. Hard calf kicks. His ground game has improved a lot. I mean, he won't look for takedowns, but it's not out of the possibility, and he'd be hard to get taken down. The times we've seen him on the ground, good ground and pound on top. And I mean, he subbed Dung on June in their fight. So I'm with you, man. I absolutely love the career turnaround by Reyes. I just think it stops this weekend. I think Olberg is too technical, too fast. I think he hurts Reyes multiple times throughout the fight. I'm going to say he finishes him in the third round. Give me Olberg by third round TKO, just being the much cleaner striker.
Yeah. Dude, this is going to sound like a weird question, but I already gave my pick for this fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. that kind of dude, leave that in. Leave that in.
Okay.
You gotta leave that in. That's awesome.
I'll throw in one last controversial thing, because I've been thinking about something you said real early on, ever since, like in breaking down this fight, because I'm completely with you that the Thiago Santos fight and the first Gustafsson fight were not as close as a lot of people misremember them to be. It's just that thing that comes of an underdog performing much better than expectations. Yeah. Obviously, the Reyes fight was Jones's closest fight. Like, yeah, a good number of people who know what they're looking at thought Reyes won. The second closest is the second Cormier fight, if you stop it right before the head kick.
Yeah, 100%.
They were 7 minutes in that fight, and Cormier was winning.
Well.
Yeah. Like, He'd won the first round, and the second was at least even. Then he got nuked with the head kick, and Jones.
I think if John Jones and Reyes rematch immediately after, I think Jones probably wins pretty easily, because John, say what you want about John, he's very intelligent. He's very good, very intelligent in the cage.
Yeah.
Very good at changing game plans, making adjustments. I think he would have made the proper adjustments and probably would have easily beat Reyes in a rematch.
Kind of like the second Gustafsson fight. Oh, I better train a little harder for this one.
Yeah. I will say this about Daniel. I mean, we're getting off the rails, but John Jones beating Daniel Cormier, especially in the second fight, it seems like a movie ending that just like, wait a minute, that's not what's supposed to happen. Like, Cormier's supposed to win, the short, fat, chubby guy who got embarrassed by the guy who's partying, and, versus the guy who's a good guy, he's married and he's got his children, and he's terrible stories about his dad being murdered, his kid dying in a
car wreck.
Liver failure while he was cutting weight for the Olympics, and all this shit. He's not supposed to be the one to get high kicked and lost. He's supposed to be the one getting his ass kicked, and he comes back and beats the guy. He loses to John Jones at the beginning of the movie and then beats him at the end.
Or that's Rocky 1, and Rocky 2 starts with Jones tested positive for steroids. They're gonna fight again, and this time Jones means it. Totally agree. That is it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 260, Olberg versus Reyes, also known as UFC Perth. I've been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring you a mix of in-depth analysis, educated picks, and occasional asides into stuff like The Lion King and Roseanne Barr that we think is pretty unique in this space. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you anything. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Please drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. If you think we left any upset value on the table, let us know. If you think any of our upset picks are way off base, let us know. Because if you're right and we're wrong, we will definitely give you your flowers on the recap. You just need to come and collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We will talk about all 14 of these fights in reverse order, from the headliner on down to that heavyweight curtain jerker. We'll talk about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. We'll talk about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and we'll talk with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.